Okay, today's guest on Leave Your Mark is Jerry Veshio, longtime educator and coach at Quaker Valley School District. He is a graduate of Northern Ohio University. He's got his master's and teacher's certificate at Slippery Rock and master's in education at University of Pitt. He worked as an assistant football coach at the varsity level until 1983 at Quaker Valley. Upon a 31-year hiatus from coaching the sport, Coach Veshio agrees to take on the role as an interim head football coach at Quaker Valley. For the first time in the school's 62-year history, he guides them to their first ever WPIL championship with a historic 2-0 win over perennial power Aliquippa, and 3 weeks later lead the Quakers to their first state title in school history.
Hi there, and welcome. Now it's time for America's favorite podcast, Leave Your Mark, with your host, Vince Cortese.
If it's fly, loose fitted, it's Cortese. If freeze and chub is in it, it's Cortese.
Leave Your Mark is about inspiring the world, one guest at a time.
Pass the word from Brooklyn to Pittsburgh, from urban to suburb, it's Cortese, you heard?
And here is our host, Vince Cortese.
Coach, thanks for being here with us today.
Hey, Mr. Cortese, glad to be here, man. Exciting to talk a little bit about all the things that have gone on the last few years with myself, but certainly with that 2017, there's a guy in town locally here that does a lot of stats for Quaker Valley Athletics. His name's John Manizza, and I think you probably know John, but a long time ago, there were some pretty good teams here at Quaker Valley in the early 70s, late 60s and early 70s. And John Manizza would term the year of the Quaker as like around 1972 when Keith Starr was around and some good football teams. But he had to acquiesce in 2017 and say, now, you know what? I think 2017 was definitely the year to Quaker with regard to not only football, but our boys soccer team won a state championship that year as well.
Well, yours, I mean, you coached when I was there. So,
Yeah.
you know, you're a lifelong Quaker. And I think the part that excites me the most was how it really galvanized the community. And what's interesting is Quaker Valley's fantastic at a lot of sports. And the boys and the girls sports do very well, but for whatever reason, that football title is the crown jewel. And for you to accomplish what you did, you took the school and its name on a whole nother level. I mean, the excitement of this season was remarkable. I remember seeing on WTAE you were up for Coach of the Year with Sports Illustrated. So you know, why don't you take me from the time here where athletic director Mastriani or Coach Mastriani kind of returns the favor to you these years later, and that sounded like that was kind of abrupt. You'd kind of gotten on with your life and everything, and then all of a sudden you got a phone call from your good friend.
Yeah, I retired from teaching in 2011, and but I stayed on as track coach. I had been the head track coach since '98, and I coached track all the way back from 1977 on. So it was a long time that I coached track there. So I was around the school. I hung around, did some stuff in the spring with track, and so Mike and I had a great relationship. I was the athletic director before him, so I was instrumental in helping him get the job there. And he, of course, was our basketball coach for a long time, very successful. So when this all went down, it was kind of like the end of July of 2017. And I really remember it quite distinctly. It was, I believe, a Wednesday late in July that Mike actually texted me and said, "Hey, Jerry, I need to talk to you right away. It's important." So I couldn't meet him that same day. So I think I went the next day and went into his office, and he was very, very uneasy, you know, very anxious. And that wasn't usually Mike with me. I mean, we've known each other for, 30 years, and we've had a great relationship. So it was a little strange that he was uneasy about meeting me in his office, and he got up and when I walked in, he turned around and walked to his door, which he always had open, and he closed it and locked it. And when he did that, I was like, I really was taken aback. So we sat down, and after a bunch of him and hawing and a bunch of ums and ers, he finally came out with the fact that they administration thought that their head football coach was going to resign within the next few days. And that was very abrupt. They hadn't really known that he was going to do that. And they might have had an inkling, but if the coach resigning did occur, then they would be out of coach and they'd have to find an interim one. And the season was going to start in about a week. And so what he did was he asked me if I would take on that role and as an interim coach. And I told him absolutely not. I said, there's no way. I'm not doing that. It's crazy that I was actually going on vacation that Saturday. So this was a Wednesday, like the end of July, and I was going on vacation. Leslie and I were going scuba diving. And so I was leaving like 3 days from then. And I said, I can't do this, Mike. I said, after I thought about it for a while, for a few minutes, and he kind of persuaded me to at least think about it. So I said, okay, let me go home and talk to my wife. And that's exactly what I did. And really, we talked about it just very briefly. And she was pretty much on board with saying, look, why don't you do it? Try to help him out, at least for a few weeks and until maybe one of the other coaches can take over. So I called Mike back immediately and told him I would accept that if indeed the coach resigned. Let me know. So I went on vacation. The week we were on vacation, he called me that Wednesday, which was around maybe August 1st, somewhere like that, and said that the coach did resign. And I told him I would come back that Saturday, meet with him, and then Monday we would start practice.
Obviously, this was a very special group. How did these kids begin to reveal themselves? I mean, you kept the whole coaching staff as well, is what I understand. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably, scratching their head or wondering if one of them was going to be the head coach. There's probably a whole bunch of scenarios that could have gone there. But then, the kids, uncharacteristically, this was an army of football players instead of a handful that Quaker probably would usually have. So when did you discover this?
Well, you hit some of the kind of key points that had to happen before I actually met with the kids. Most of them didn't know that their head coach had resigned because it was so abrupt and because there was no inkling of that. Maybe a few of them did. And the coaches certainly had some inkling of the fact because several of them were really good friends with the head coach. So really the first thing that I did with Mike was talk to the coaches. We had to find out who was going to be on and who was going to be, staying on and who wasn't. And thankfully, most of them did. And that was really one of the key things as to how I think the season was successful, is because those coaches stayed on. If none of those guys would have come back, or maybe one or two of them, it would have been chaos. And so
I want to ask you real quick, how, with you coming in that quick, how, did you know any of these fellas, or?
I only knew a few of them. Yeah, I knew them by name. I mean, I didn't really know them personally. I knew one of the guys who was on the staff. Bob Patterson was on the staff, and he played for me back in the 80s. And I knew his son from track, and I knew one of the other guys was Tom Pipkins, who was a colleague of mine at the high school. And he was coming on new, though. He was going to be a first-year coach. He had agreed to do that long before the resignation of the head coach. So I knew Tom, but the other guys, the key component people that were there for several years with Coach Trattoria before, I really didn't know. So it was very tense with regard to having those guys come in.
Now, I mean, I know you, and you have a very easygoing personality. So this definitely was probably one of the reasons Coach Mastriani wanted to bring you back. You kind of helped smooth it over. I personally, when I heard you were the coach, I thought it was a perfect pick. I had no idea all of this was going on.
Yeah, there had to be some massaging done of the coaching staff, and ultimately, I think the very first day that we met, which was you think about it, Chip. This is a Monday morning. We did this Monday morning. Practice was to start at 3:00 that afternoon.
Oh.
So Monday morning at 11:00. Mike and I meet with the coaches, and for the first time to let them know that I'm going to be the interim head coach.
And
So this was a crazy few hours. And I think ultimately, though, what really helped was that first meeting that we had, and when they had all agreed to come back. One of the things I impressed upon them from the very first was that if they were going to come and coach, that I expected them to coach. And I don't know if that makes any sense to maybe a lay person, but coaching staffs are sometimes, there's a lot of personalities and a lot of egos on coaching staffs. And as a head coach, especially in the realm of the football type of organization, if you have coaches that are your assistants and you don't let them do their thing with your supervision and have them be responsible for things, then it's going to be a hard row to hoe for you. So I let them know that very first day that if they were going to stay on, I expected them to coach and be responsible for their coaching actions throughout the entire year. So I think they took that to heart. And so every week I made sure I impressed upon them that I gave them a responsibility, but by God, when we got out on the field for a practice, that they were going to be the ones to do the coaching and make sure they were prepared to do that. And they didn't fail.
How did the kids respond to you?
Well, 3:00 we had I had to come out and meet the kids, and then Mike introduced me, and there were a lot of tears in that locker room because they heard that for the first time, that their head coach was not coming back. And so there was a lot of shock. This was a senior-laden team. There were a dozen seniors on that team. Most of them were going to be starters and had a lot invested in the summer of learning what to do in this new year. So there was a lot of shock involved. But I kept that encounter very brief. Told them that I had their best interest at heart. That I was going to be there for them the whole season, and their coaching staff was as well. We want to talk about any past circumstances that arose from their head coach resigning, that we were moving forward from that day, and let's get on the field in 5 minutes. That's pretty much what I told them.
Now, that actually, it turns out to be the mantra of the season, as well as the title of your book, and that seems to keep coming up, as well as in individual stories on the team, is keep moving forward. So you start practicing. Do you think initially that this team has the ability to win a WPIL?
Well, that never came to my mind that first week. I was just trying to get my head wrapped around some offensive and defensive terminology and what the coaching staff had already had in, because I gave them the responsibility with an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator, and they took on the task of implementing all the things that we did that year, and starting from that very first day, all the drills that we ran, all the schemes that we had. So I left it up to them, and all I did was kind of manage that, and it seemed to work out really well. That first week we got on the field for heat acclimatization. We had to do that for the first week in football now in Pennsylvania. That's a kind of a new thing the last few years. So we were on the field and just went over drills, and the coaches took an active role in setting all those things up, and the kids responded. They really never blinked with regard to me being there, and I slowly got to know each and every one of them personally, and kept trying to repeat things to them that I thought were really important. And the first time, Chip, that I noticed some really important things about the team, though, was maybe the third day, and how quickly they adapted to the drills that they were doing, how mistake-free we were in those first couple of days with regard to offensive and defensive schemes. It really was a shock to me how cerebral they were, how intense they were, how focused they were, despite all the turmoil that they had that very first day.
What's interesting is those are not words that you would use to describe a high school athlete either.
That's right.
That sounds more like you're talking about a higher college level or a pro player.
Yes.
The idea then, not even as individuals, you're referencing them as a unit the whole time, I noticed here. So
Yeah.
that was unique.
Connect with us on LinkedIn. Be our friend on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
Whether jumping out the MP or jumping on the app.
You are listening to Vince Cortese. We just want you to leave your mark.
So we come into the season, and I mean, you jump out of the gate. You're like 4 or 5-0 right away. Some of those games you were expected to win. Competition might not have been as tough, but the tougher games were around the corner. So this team started to gel. The media started to jump in, and the notoriety was beginning to happen.
They started to kind of be hungry for our story. Then the 5th game of the season, we went down to Central Valley. And when we got into that locker room down there, I don't think I've ever seen a more focused group of kids. We were 4-0 coming into Central Valley, and Central Valley has good football. They're state championship, or they're going to probably state championship this year. They were in it last year. And Coach Lyon is a great football coach, and they have some great athletes there. So we go down there, and from the very first kick, from the very first minute of that game, our guys were just all over the place with regard to performing as expected. We thumped them 39-0, and the media was lurking after the game. And the theme that I distinctly remember, and Chip, I'll tell you, these guys, especially the seniors, I heard it over and over again throughout the rest of the season. I talked to them that night after the game about how good they were, but that they had to stay humble, and that they had to thank their teammates, their families, their coaches. And if they could do that and not be arrogant about how good they were, then we could go a long way. And there were times throughout the year when reporters would interview our guys, and those words came back. So I was proud. Yeah, I was proud of the fact that they listened, and they not only heard what I said, but they took it to heart. So we were good. We knew we were good. But being humble, I think, made them understand that that's more important. I basically told them that night that if you're humble, that brings people to your side. That makes a leader.
Yeah.
And arrogance brings detractors.
Exactly. Now this gets good because you're 4-0. You're in the section, and the coaches have forged together. The kids have forged together. You got to be getting your sea legs back at the coaching helm. So now we're ticking here.
Yeah.
So you've got what? You beat Central, so you got what? Beaver, Hopewell.
We had Hopewell, and I think
Beaver Falls had just won a WPIL the year before, didn't they?
They were scary, but they were on a down year. And then came the 7th game of the season. No, we were 7-0 into the 8th game of the season was when we met Aliquippa at our place. They were 7-0 as well, so 2 undefeated teams. Again, the media hype was intensified because we were picked. It was our home game, and we were picked to be the game of the week on AT&T Sports, which was live football feed around the region, the Pittsburgh area. So Quaker Valley had never been in that situation before. I mean, Aliquippa had been for many times, but that was new. That was new territory for us. So not only were we, excited about that, but I think that added a little bit more pressure to us. The kids, I think, responded really well. We were a little flat coming out against Aliquippa in that the first half. They went up on us a couple of scores, but we ended up coming back and scoring on them. It was actually the first score that they had, the first touchdown on their defense all season long. They had put out a shutout on defense that whole season.
But it was interesting because there was some unpleasantries at the end of the game, and that really wasn't characteristic of Quaker Valley. Usually just kind of lick their wounds and get off the field. And these kids had some fire. They did not like losing that game. And to me, that was the first time I saw this team live. And I knew something was going on then besides the record, because I saw a fire and a level of competitiveness that I'd never seen there before. So, and the conversation was, if we get a chance at them again, I think we could take them. So you just had that put in the back of your head immediately. So, okay, so now you're going to finish up the season, and you got Seton LaSalle away, and it's just no breather really. They're not in your conference,
Right.
but they're undefeated. So
Yep.
this plays out as a crazy game because you can't have a letdown coming in down the stretch, especially after what had been accumulated. So, how does this play out?
Yeah, and then we have to go down to Peters Township, I think, to play them, and because that was their home field that year, and they had a running back named Lionel Deans who was just tearing it up. I mean, he was rushing for 150, 200 yards, 250 yards a game. So we knew we had to stop him, and going into that game, I mean, we had an offense that was pretty doggone prolific, and certainly a defense that was pretty doggone tough too. We ended up, I think, holding him to that day. I think 19 yards on 17 carries. So we ended up waxing them pretty good too down there that day, to let everybody know that we were for real on both sides of the ball.
Now then, so the season closes up, and do you get did you win the section or do you tie?
No, we tied with Aliquippa won the section because we had one loss to them.
Yeah, it was to them.
So we ended up, second in the section, but we ended up getting the second seed in the WPIL.
Okay, so you get a bye?
No, we didn't get a bye. That year there were 8 teams in the tournament, so everybody played on the first week. We got paired up with Derry High School, and we had our first ever home playoff game in the history of the school. In 62 years, they never had a home playoff game, and so that was our first playoff. Semis, we got to come back and play Seton LaSalle again. They had won their quarterfinal match and got into the semis, so we had to meet them again. We knew we beat them once, but anything could happen.
They're looking for revenge too.
Yeah, and they ended up. I think the running back got some yards on us in the first half, but we shut them down pretty good.
Got them good against.
I think we ended up scoring around 30 in the second half and beat them going away.
Now, the stage is set here. So you're coming in to Heinz Field, the WPIL final, as predicted. You made it to the prediction. Now,
yep.
Some of the stuff kind of getting off the field again. Now, Ricky Gus, the numbers that he had put up, he was being recognized in as one of the best high school athletes, two-way athletes for basketball and football that the WPIL had ever seen. So the backstory there you mentioned earlier about his mother and then his younger brother Isaac, these two are two integral parts of the mental psyche of the team. And we're still going through this. She's healed and better, but the story at home continues over there. So can you kind of give us an idea of how these two were affecting the rest of the team with their behavior?
Well, yeah, I mean, after Mom got that clear report, things weren't still back to normal. I mean, she had gone through a tremendous battle, so those kids had seen that, and to be able to stay focused like they were throughout the entire season, I think is an incredible feat. A lot of kids would have folded. And those guys didn't. They had a strong, their mom and dad had a strong support group there for them, and enabled them to stay focused on their athletics during that time. Ricky ended up being, the one of the leading scorers in the WPIL. He ended up having, I think, 2,000 yards passing and 1,000 yards running. I think only 3 or 4 other quarterbacks in the history of the league had ever done that. And that goes back a long way.
Yeah, I mean, outside of, and you had pro player Terrell Pryor was one of the playing at Ohio State. So the level at which his talent as well as the numbers he was putting up was right there.
Right, and it wasn't like we were playing against slouch teams. Several of our teams in the conference were tough, and then there was playoff games involved there too. So it wasn't like there was something that he was just adding numbers to. And then of course, Isaac being one of our defensive stalwarts, he never missed a beat either. He was always working hard and tried to perfect his craft. one of the mantras, we talked about moving forward. One of the things I impressed upon the kids was to try to get better at one little thing each day. If you can do that, then we're going to be successful on Friday night.
Well, I think we hear in the inside of that, my father having been a coach as well, I don't know if you were intentionally doing it or it was just happening that way, trying to get into your comfort zone with the coaches and the players. But you were building a mindset from the time you walked in the door that these folks needed to be in if they were going to be winners, let alone champions. So
Yeah.
I think your experience and your maturity and having been there before really paid out in spades here, because uh, you kept them all calm when they could have been getting erratic or full of themselves, or all of the pageantry, especially when the media shows up and wants to know what's going on over here. So
Yeah, that was big.
I want to go into, because I like the pregame and the postgame speeches. So take me into the locker room for the WPIL champ. We're going to play Aliquippa again. You're at Heinz Field, the premier stage, and the juice has got to be flown for you. I mean, all the years you had coached before, I never saw anything like that. So a little bit surreal, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was like a dream. We pull up to the stadium, and let me go back real quick, Chip, about the that week prior to the Heinz Field game was just exciting all over the place. I mentioned before that we had a soccer team that was going to a state championship that week. They were going to play at Hershey on Friday. We were going to play Saturday at Heinz Field, and they were leaving for Hershey on Thursday. So we had a big pep rally and a send off, and the football team was a part of that. And so they get to Hershey on Friday, and our Friday practices are usually pretty well. Our day before the game practice, Friday was usually the game day, but since we were playing on Saturday, Friday was a practice day. So Quakers soccer team was playing in the afternoon on Friday when we were supposed to be at practice. So we get to the field house, get ready for practice, and I'm not going out to practice because we're going to jam everybody into a little tiny room that we had as the coach's office with a big TV, and we're going to watch the ending of this soccer game because our boys are playing. And we did. So we screamed and yelled in there. There probably had to be 45 or 50 guys in that room that could really only easily fit maybe 20. And so we were screaming and yelling in there for our guys that ended up winning the state championship. So, and then also that week we get a call from Sports Illustrated, who wants to come and be in our locker room and go with us to the game against the Quips. So the lady comes in and does the whole week with us, and is in our locker room for that pregame speech. And so that's where we are now. And you talked about what's it like to get into Heinz Field, and it's certainly, as a Pittsburgh guy, a Quaker Valley guy, I've been a season ticket holder to Steeler games, since the 80s. So my son and I we go to the games, and I sit in the upper deck. So they played on Thursday night actually that week, and so Brian and I are at the game on Thursday night, looking down on the field and knowing that we're going to be down there on Saturday playing the Quips. So it was a very surreal atmosphere. That we had to be in, of course, one of the visiting locker rooms. The locker rooms are very, kind of standard locker rooms, but just bigger. But the pregame talk that I had with those guys that day really was one that I thought about a lot. Usually my pregames were kind of off the cuff a lot of times, but this one I had to make sure we talked about being a champion, and that's what I did that day with them.
That's exciting. Yeah, that's really inspiring what you have said there in the book. Now, you're oozing with confidence. I saw you in a pregame interview here, and we're all still a little unsure because this isn't what we're used to as football fans at Quaker Valley. So it was like, are we going to come here in the big stage and lay an egg, or are we going to be the team that we thought we were throughout the year? And I mean, I've been watching sports for probably 40 years. I've never seen a 2-0 game before, ever. I mean, probably thousands of games.
Neither has that entire league over its like 100, I don't know how many years it's been in existence, a long time. There's never been a championship game
But
2-0.
in the irony then of their defense, Aliquippa's did what they did. They held you scoreless.
Yeah.
Your defense was better than theirs because yours scored
Yeah.
2 points.
Yeah.
It's a laugh. I mean, at halftime we were sitting there saying this game can't end at 2-0. There's no way it can end at 2-0. But if the way that it was playing out, you could see that your guys had gotten that rematch that they wanted, and there was a mental wearing down of Aliquippa, and you could see that beginning to take root. And as the second half went on, they began to play unsure and uncharacteristic like the Quips.
I think fatigue set in a little bit. I think there was mental fatigue because they just couldn't crack our defense. They held us, but couldn't crack our defense.
I don't think did they get past midfield in the second? If they did, it was brief.
The first half they got down, I think, to the 11-yard line, and then we ended up backing them up to ended up being like 4th and 43 or something crazy. But in the second half, the only time I think they got past midfield was in the last series.
Yeah.
In the very last minute of the game.
Yeah, because then you got the interception, and then that sealed the deal. All right, so now you're WPIL champs, on top of the world. You're hoisting the trophy up down at Heinz Field.
Yeah.
And the guys are hungry for more. So, I mean, at that point, it could have ended right there and would have been a phenomenal story. But,
right.
Still realizing all of what was going on, how these kids were forging and maturing, coming together, overcoming injuries, overcoming personal issues with cancer in their families, yourself. And here we're going into the state final. Or what was it? You won 3 games, and then you're in a state final.
No, as a WPL champ, we got to get a bye.
Okay.
State tournament. So we ended up going into the semis at that first game. But the week of the bye, though, was an important week for us. A lot of reporters have talked to me about what are we going to do? So we were on a roll. Why do you want to? Is it good to have a bye week? And I kept saying, as our coaching staff did as well, yeah, we'll take the bye. We rested our kids. We didn't go in pads for 10 days. When we got back in pads, Chip, after those 10 days on the field, at our practice field, I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday of the week before the state semis, those guys, it was probably the best week of practice that we had all year. They were intense as all get out. And I knew going in, we had scouted Sharon. That's who we were going to play in that semifinal game. We ended up playing them at North Hills again, where we went and had the Heinz Field game where we beat St. LaSalle. But anyway, Sharon had a good football team, and there was no way they were beating us. We ended up thumping them pretty good too. And
I think you got them like 42-14 or something like that.
Yeah.
And now you're going into the state final. You're going to Hershey. So now this isn't surreal. This is all playing out. You won a WPIL. And what's the mindset coming into the championship game against Middletown?
We, of course, hadn't seen them in person live, had some film on them. They had gone to the state championship the year before. I think they were undefeated. I think they were 14-0 or something like that. Had some incredible scoring performances throughout the year, a tremendous defense, some great athletes, a coach who'd been there for some time, who had a reputation of being a strong teacher. So we had our work cut out for us. So we scouted them throughout the whole year, though. I think I have to mention, we really hadn't been very complicated in what we did, both defensively and offensively. We kept sticking to very simple, basic kinds of offensive and defensive schemes. We didn't add a lot each week. We scouted our opponent. We didn't change up things, going over some meeting things for the week. Coaches would want to try to add or detract some things, and I kept pushing that we just stay the same. Let's stay. What we've been doing has been working. Let's not try to reinvent the wheel. We kept doing that week after week after week. Things kept working. We just kept perfecting the things that we did. And I think for that reason, our kids, and it's, as an athlete yourself, talking to a lot of athletes over the years, when things become instinctual to you and you don't have to think, that's when you play your best.
Yep.
And so our kids were like that from, I think, game 5 or 6 on. And we didn't have to think out there. We knew exactly what to do at every step of the way. I didn't have a lot of time to think about it as it was going on because, number one, it happened so fast. And then, we just won a game, then another game, and then another game. We just kept getting on a roll. And every week I'd, come home and there'd be some people here at our place and we'd celebrate a little bit. And I'd say, okay, I guess, we're going to move on to next week and win again. So, and it kept happening.
No, like I said, your confidence was huge because your interviews, when you were on the interviews, I'm like, oh, we're going. Coach Veshio's got it. We're going. We're going to win this one. He's completely confident.
If you have a story to share, tell us. How are you going to leave your mark? Contact us. Leave your mark with our host, Vince Cortese. Be our guest.
All right, I'm going to do something real quick here. I want to list some of the accolades that you accomplished there real quick. You were nominated for the Don Shula Award and NFL High School Coach of the Year, Head Football Coach of the Year from the Pittsburgh Steelers, Head Football Coach of the Week from the Steelers, WPXI Skylights WPIL Class 3A Coach of the Year, MAC Conference Coach of the Year, AAA PIA Coach of the Year, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Beaver County Times, the National Italian Sports Hall of Fame Dominic T. Rappo Award. I mean, this goes on and on. This is so exciting to see what had happened here. And, so I want to wrap this up because, everybody that comes on, I ask them, what you leave your mark. How would you like to be remembered after all these years, which seemed relatively quiet? You're, coaching track and influencing kids' lives in another way. And this is like a genie out of a lamp type of a thing that happens. So how would you like to be remembered?
Well, your program is pretty appropriate for, I think, what happened to me in just something that never imagined. You don't certainly plan for anything like this. There are guys out there who coach their entire life and they aspire to be, a champion. They want to go to the championship. I mean, that's your ultimate goal. Every year should be that you want to win a championship. And, every year that I had our track program when I was the head coach, I would always talk to our kids on the very first day about what their goals were. And they had individual goals, plus they had team goals. But I always said to them, our goal here is to win a section championship. We want to win a WPIL team championship. And we want to go to the state championship, and we want to have individuals compete on a high level at the state meet. That was our goal every single year. It didn't change. Did we always accomplish that? Absolutely not. So as a coach, to leave your mark, I think is what I did. Was throughout my career, I left that mark with students and athletes to let them know that always aspire to be the best you can be. It's not always going to happen. In fact, most of the time it won't. You won't get to that championship level. But if you can work every day to get better at something, one little thing each day, that it's going to pay off for you, not only in the sport that you're working at, but in life in general. And it teaches so many more things than just, how to throw a football or how to run a pass pattern. So I think that's one of the things that I'm most proud of, as well as you mentioned it at the very beginning, how our community got so excited and proud of what we did and what we accomplished. To me, that's the most humbling and exciting thing that I was able to do, was to help bring about that excitement to the community.
Well, I can tell you, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Having been an athlete that you coached and remembering those years and the influence that you left on me, to see that this is what happened to you was really heartwarming. Couldn't have been more deserving. Well,
I appreciate that. And, it didn't come, I think all the stars kind of aligned, but and as I think about, what transpired, I had to have some, you don't want to be arrogant about it. I want to stay humble, which is important, but I think there had to be some spark of something in there that enabled us to do what we did collectively. I was kind of the manager of it all. I talk about how I felt about that in the book, about how I was able to maybe, manage all those components and put them together. And I think that it obviously came out. It
was great. It was absolutely great. You get to be the magic in the potion. It all came together. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming by today, Coach. I appreciate it. I love this story. This is so heartwarming. It feels so good. Always
a pleasure. Moving Forward is the name of the book. It's called Moving Forward, and it's appropriately titled. We have a website, movingforward/book.com, and you can get our book on Amazon, and hopefully people can get it for a Christmas gift. I'm going to put your podcast on here.
I'll set you up with some links so we can drop that on there.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, Coach. I appreciate you coming by.
Hey, Chip. See you, man.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to Leave Your Mark today. Tune into our next episode of Leave Your Mark with Vince Cortese. Be blessed.
You just left your mark. Thanks for listening. Listen to more episodes on demand. Just click Leave Your Mark with Vince Cortese.